Hi, this is Michael O'Leary from By the Book Taxes with this week's edition of the video blog. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about IRS tax liens. 2 weeks ago, I gave an overview on IRS tax liens, and last week, I spoke about one of the options called lien subordination. This week's video blog, I'm going to speak about how to discharge an IRS tax lien. I always state this as a disclaimer in that IRS tax liens can be very intimidating, even to professionals in the real estate industry, lenders, and even tax professionals find them confusing and intimidating, but the purpose of these blogs are to show you that you can work your way around IRS tax liens. As mentioned before, there are three options to work around an IRS tax lien: subordination, which we talked about last week, discharge, which we're going to talk about today, and withdrawal, which I'll speak about next week. Okay, the best analogy I've heard about an IRS tax lien is that it is like a blanket that lays over all of the taxpayers' assets. A lien discharge occurs when the IRS allows a taxpayer to have an asset removed out from under the blanket or the lien, typically by a sale, and that will allow the IRS to realize any or all of the equity left over from the sale up to the amount of the tax debt. The bottom line is the IRS will allow these things if it improves their ability to collect tax debts. Okay, here's a good example. You want to sell a home, but you have a tax lien on it. And you ask, can I do this? Am I unable to sell because of the lien? The answer is no. But you have to look at the conditions. A sale of a home may result in enough equity after paying the sales commissions, the mortgage, the lawyers. It may result in enough equity to pay the tax debt in full. That's the best case scenario. The next is you won't be able to pay it in full, but you will be able to pay some or most of it off. The third is, nope, your mortgage is underwater, it's a short sale, whatever, and there'll be no equity left to pay the debt. So here's what you do in order to get a lien discharged. You submit an application to the IRS, Form 14135, which is an application for certification of a discharge of property from a federal tax lien. You include with the form all the documentation related to the sale, the appraisal, the property listing, the contract, the fees and expenses, an estimated closing statement, anything else you have that documents the sale, the mortgage, the amount of equity that you will get, whether that's zero up to the amount of the IRS debt. As long as the IRS receives all the equity from the sale, they will agree to discharge the home from the lien. So the IRS essentially steps into the taxpayer's shoes and gets whatever they would get. Now, what cannot happen is that the taxpayer gets a discharge and equity from the sale if the tax debt is not paid in full. The IRS gets whatever the taxpayer would get and a discharge. But they cannot get a discharge, not satisfy the debt, and walk away with equity. Doesn't work that way. The IRS gets whatever the taxpayer would get, even if it's less than the amount owed. Okay, if you have tax debts, if you have years of unfiled tax returns, if you have a lien on your home and you don't think you can sell it, if you're getting aggressive, threatening collection letters from the IRS, please call me. I can help. Talk to you next week.